Welcome to this PIQ session specifically around workflow analysis and reporting. Before we get into things, just a quick agenda of what's going to be covered. First up, we're going to have a look at some of the workflow dashboards that are available to you. We'll see how to get into the detail. Obviously, you do need to, on occasions, drill through and understand specific scenarios. So we'll have a look at that. Throughout the session, we'll look at or try and highlight some of the configuration options available to you. And finally, have a look at some ad hoc analysis through our standard Excel template that is available. So hopefully some of the learning outcomes that will result from this session is to we'll know what's available and where to get the information you need from a workflow point of view. Understand where to get different pieces of workflow information, be it things like turnaround times, start and end dates, and so on. Understand how to work with the ad hoc analysis in Excel, and also a clearer understanding of what can be configured when deploying the solution onto your system. So without any further ado, let's get on with the main session. Okay, first of all, let's just start with a couple of resources that might help when working with the workflow dashboards and analysis. If you go on the PIQ intranet site to the help option, you have a user guide, and that tells you functionally how to work with the dashboards, what's available and how it all works. And secondly, the drill through options here. If we open up this PDF file, you'll see if we scroll down, it goes through all the dashboards, the other box dashboards here, but if we'll scroll down to the workflow section, there we go. It highlights the formats that are available, where they drill through to, from the summary level to detail level, some of the group options as well. We'll be going through these in this session today, but for future reference, this document is a good starting point. Just refresh the site. Okay, so in order to access the workflow formats, go to the workflow section in the intranet site, and we'll start off with and we'll focus in mainly on this session around the workflow client section. I will explain a bit more about the debtor and family group sections shortly. So as with a lot of the Practice IQ style formats and dashboards, we start at a high level with the ability to drill through to summary and detail levels. But before we do that, just a bit of an explanation around what we're seeing here. The main or the standard workflow dashboard is broken into 3 sections, and these sections of data can be filtered by overarching parameters. The time-based parameter on the default the format by default is the target due year. So all the information is where the matters are due in this case financial year of 2018 and all months. This is determined by the workflow on the matter themselves. So it's effectively the tasks or the milestones and the target dates associated with those scheduled milestones. It is due, or the job is deemed due, where the last target milestone is placed. We deal with matter attributes here, so partner, managed department, and we have the ability to filter this whole format by a specific standard matter type. So the top section here is all about the active matters, so the ones that have not been completed. So there's no actual date in the last scheduled milestone. Gives them high level numbers, so the total due here, the ones that are deemed on track, so not over budget or over time, the ones that are over budget specifically there, the ones that are overdue specifically, on hold statuses, and the average days in, so the amount of days that or the average days across all the matters that have been in the office. Each one of these is drillable, and you'll get more information and instruction by hovering over the different measures here. So if we, for example, drill through on the on track, it will give you a list or the summary level there. You can confirm the number that is listed, and you can go back. Just using the browser buttons to go back as normal. The chart itself is just a breakdown by the statuses. Okay. The statuses are built around the different dates and information assigned to different matters. So not started is effectively there's no time on the clock against a matter, and there's no actual dates assigned to any of the scheduled milestones. In progress is basically everything is okay. There's at least one actual date against one of the milestones, but they're not over time or budget. Needs attention. That's effectively within 7 days of being overdue. Is the main criteria there for needs attention. And urgent attention is it's either over budget or over time, so it's overdue to be completed. Again, each one of those bars is clickable, so you can click on that and it will drill through and list the jobs associated with the statuses. The bottom two sections here are all about completed matters. The first is to do with matters that were due to be completed in the selected time frame, in this case 2018 financial year, and have been completed. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were completed in the financial year 2018. It could have been previous year, or in fact, if you're looking historically, it might have been in a future time frame. The bottom section is all about matters that have actually been completed in the time frame. So they may not have been due in 2018, but they could have been completed within that time frame. So there's a subtle distinction there between the two. And again, each one of these is drillable. You can drill down on any of these bars and it'll filter the underlying summary list by the context of what you've clicked on. So we have a couple of extra options here in terms of the groupings or the top level analysis. We've introduced what we call group reports. We've both got for the groups for active and complete matters that were due in the target specified, and we have that a breakdown of a group by the where they've been completed in the selected time frame. We'll just go to this one as an example. So we have exactly the same criteria at the top in terms of the time-based analysis here. We can filter by standard matter, and we can show on the report the different groups that are available to us. So in terms of the firm, we have those firm level stats that we saw previously on the dashboard, but we also have those broken down by the attributes in the system, in this case partners, but we could potentially choose something like matter responsible. So it's another layer to the information. So each one of these, in terms of the matter responsible here, and every figure is clickable. So you could potentially click on the 17 there for Charlie Chaplin, and it will list the 17 matters that Charlie is responsible for and that are on track. Okay. So it's a good option in terms of the access to the different or the underlying data. So it allows you entry points to filter and focus in on specific areas. As we did before, clicking on an item there, it goes to the second level or summary level, which lists information at a matter level here. If you want to see additional detail, now this format's been designed to fit specifically onto a landscape page for printing. But if you want more information, you can click the workflow detail link at the top here, and this gives you a large list of information, very wide table. This is specifically been built to export to Excel and continue working or create further reporting from that. If you choose one of these matters, we can potentially drill through and see the detail on that. So this lower level dashboard here gives all the relevant information about a specific matter. So it's got its financial pieces. It would show what's been billed and so on if it had been, days in and so on. And in this case, it hasn't actually started yet because there's no actual dates at all. So I might choose a slightly better one than that. If we maybe go down to this one here. There we go. We've got some dates in this one. So we've got our financial pieces there in terms of the WIP balances, any disbursements, fees, and so on. You have the metadata, all the attributes, family groups, clients, and so on. Some sort of KPIs, whether it's on time, on budget. and the actual workflow itself. You can see here the target dates assigned, you can see the actual dates, you can see graphically whether they've been achieved on time or not, and you can see where each step has potentially gone over budget based on the traffic light system, including the overall. We've also got any job notes that are associated with the matter as well. This little link in the middle here allows you to go down and see all the timesheet transactions that have been applied to the matter across all the staff members who have potentially worked on it. Okay, so those are the different layers available to you on the sort of out-of-the-box workflow reports. You've got a top-level dashboard, the drill-through in context to the summary layer, and you have that middle tier, if you like, of that grouping as a starting point, if you wish. And you can go right down to the detail and even the timesheet transactions. One thing I should point out while I'm on this section here is that actually I might just choose an accounts matter because it's be slightly more relevant. Maybe choose one of these. There we go. Okay, one of the configurations that is possible in the system on deploying it, so it's not a customization, it's a configuration, is that we can determine the start and end scheduled milestone. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the first milestone in the list that has a target date or the last milestone that has a target date. We can determine in the background which ones you want to choose per milestone template. And you can see graphically here that we've highlighted in bold the start milestone and end milestone for your turnaround stats on the job. Okay, so if you do think this would be useful, just have a chat to the Reckon APS consultant, and we can configure this when deploying it, or introduce it to the system, or if it's already been deployed. Okay, so that's the workflow side of things. Another configuration that's possible within the workflow PIQ solution is the ability to workflow matters at a debtor and family group level. So we're effectively chunking up. So you're working in terms of scheduled milestones and marking down actual dates against the workflow milestones at the debtor matter level and the family group matter level. So we're grouping up all the client matters to the debtor based on the debtor and the standard matter, or common standard matter. So all accounts 2017 matters for clients underneath a specific debtor, and the same for the family group. Just to show that working, bear in mind that the formats that are available under these two sections are identical to what we've just looked at. They're just sliced at a slightly higher level, debtor or family group. So if we go to the family group dashboard, see the numbers are slightly lower because we're dealing at that high level. So we've got 623 matters associated, or workflow matters at a family group level. If we drill through to the summary report, there's one difference in terms of the summary report here. We have a little column called CN, that stands for client number. Okay, if we order that, we'll see those numbers extend there. So you can see here for James Tucker, who's the family group, he has 10 client matters underneath the family group level, common with accounts 2017. So if we click on the plus button, we can actually see that level. The top one is James Tucker, as he is as a client, but highlighted because he's the family group. And you can drill further into that detail to see the information. At this level, if you drill through, it will actually summarize all those underlying 10 accounts matters up into this workflow. The dates themselves are all based on the family groups matter, but the summarization and the aggregation of the budget actual amounts, both dollars and hours, is all summed up from the underlying items. If you drill through on this, it gives you a breakdown of all those matters, so the timesheet transactions per client matter and the staff that have been working on them. Okay, can be a little confusing there. Hopefully that made sense. You can have that configured to switch on, so you can include either or none of them as you wish. The other section we deal with workflow reporting is a concept of turnaround. Now this gets quite detailed because the turnaround we're talking about is at actually at the task level. We're talking about a milestone level here, turnaround. So this is all about gauging how efficient individual staff members who are responsible for each task are at completing those tasks. So we have three main KPIs. We can filter it by the normal attributes, partner attributes or matter attributes, partner, manager, department, and we also go down to matter responsible here as well. And we can also filter by the specific standard matter. The time-based analysis or parameters here is all about where the milestone has been completed. Okay, so that's the actual date on the specific milestone underneath the matter. The three main KPIs are turnaround achieved percentages, on budget percentages, and completed on time percentages. So the turnaround achieved is whether a task or milestone was completed in the time allocated. So it's effectively from the time of the target date from the previous milestone to the target date on the current milestone. That determines how long you have to complete that task. And the actuals are the same. So we're dealing with the time between the previous milestone being completed and the current one being completed. Will give us that time base to work out. On budget, it's a little bit more straightforward. It's basically in terms of the budgets assigned to the specific milestone, were they met or not? Did we go over? Were we under? And so on. Completed on time is purely about the actual date that has gone against the milestone. So you may have completed a milestone and done a turnaround on time, but it may not have been completed on time. So the impact of that might have been previous milestones have not been completed on time, so there's a knock-on effect. So the person on the current milestone may be efficient, they may have completed the turnaround and done it in time, but it's still delayed. Okay, so it's a key metric to understand in the system. Again, same with all these other dashboards that we have the ability to drill through to get some detail. So in this case, we can see all the staff in the firm and the numbers based on where they are responsible for specific milestones. We can drill through again. Angelina here, we can see the different milestones across all the matters that they have been working on. And again, with the averages across those, both on turnaround, budget, and completion. If we drill through again on specific milestone, you can get into some real detail around those different tasks across all the client matters. And in context to the overall matter, you can see where they've slotted in terms of their piece of the work. Okay. So some quite detailed information there, but if you are really concentrating on tracking how your team is performing, maybe seeing some gaps in education or overload in terms of the amount of tasks assigned to individuals, this is a great place to get an indication of what's going on. Okay. So that pretty much covers the workflow dashboard formats, summary formats, and detailed formats that are available through Practice IQ. We do have another option, and that is for ad hoc analysis, and we do that in IQ through Excel. So we built up a standard template, an out-of-the-box template, to give you a starting point for that. So in this workbook, we have three tabs. They're associated with the three data sources or OLAP databases that have been built as part of the PIQ solution, covering workflow. We have a workflow tab, a milestones tab, and a capacity tab. So the workflow option here really focuses on giving lists of statuses per job and counts of those per attribute that you applied here. So at this point, we've sort of summed up the counts of statuses across all matters for partners, but you have access to drag on different matter attributes as you go. We've got various other options and filters that can be applied to the pivot table for any ad hoc analysis you wish. The milestones, as it suggests, really focuses on the milestone details, so the hours and the monetary values associated with the different tasks. If we drill through, we actually get to see some of the actual dates associated with those. And again, lots of different filters that are being dragged on. You can drag these up to overall filters and effectively just work with this field list and everything that's available to you. There's some sort of key parameters or filters available to isolate specific items, things like all matters that have been on hold, the job statuses, a breakdown, whether they're complete or not, and so on. And just quickly, the capacity option here, this just provides a rudimentary sort of capacity view, and it analyzes the fee and a budget information. So the budgets have been assigned in the system to, or capacity budgets that have been assigned to the system, to staff members in the system, versus what's been assigned to them in terms of the job budget or the milestone targets and budgets. And it just simply marries those two values up across time, where the budget's been set within the timesheet periods, and the milestone budgets have been set against their target dates, and it gives you an indication of capacity across the firm. There are some more complex and more in-depth formats available for capacity reporting out of these data sets, but we'll be covering that off in a separate section. Okay. So that's pretty much it in terms of the solution and the formats available for workflow analysis out of Practice IQ. All that's left for me to do now is just swap back to the presentation, and we'll close off. Well, thank you very much for finding the time to watch this session. I hope you found it informative and useful. For any other information on this session or any of the Training Academy workshops that are available, please use the contact information on screen now. Thank you.